Today, I'm going to teach you guys the easiest way, the simplest way, the no hassle way of calculating calories and macros, which makes it incredibly easy to stick to a meal plan, which you love, incredibly easy to build fat, to lose muscle, to build fat and lose muscle at the same time. I'm going to give you the insights and the truths behind how I track my calories, how I track my macros. And I have a feeling that this is going to open a lot of your guys' eyes as to how this stuff actually works. What are the foods you need to eat? How much protein you need to eat? How much carbs, fat you need to eat? And how it is possible to eat the foods you love and still get in shape. Okay. A lot of people understand that, diet needs to consist of a few things, right? Maximizing muscle growth, minimizing fat gain, nutritious, healthy diet. But what people tend to miss out, and why many people fail on their diets, is that they don't factor in the sustainability part of the diet, the happiness, the enjoyability part of the diet. And so that's what this video is going to focus on, right? Both a diet that maximizes muscle gain, minimizes fat gain, is healthy, it contains healthy and nutritious foods, and allows room for you to eat whatever you want, your favorite treats, your pizza, donuts, pastries, pasta, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so let's get into it. So it's possible to lose fat, it's possible to build muscle eating the foods you love, eating pretty much whatever you want. To a certain extent, of course, you can't just eat junk food the entire time, but you can eat a certain amount of treats, such that you are satisfied, your sweet tooth is satisfied, you don't have any more cravings because you've included a certain amount of calories, a certain amount of calories in your meal plan left over to enjoy Oreos, to enjoy cereal, right? So that you're not constantly hating your diet, you're not constantly craving sugar, craving junk food, right? So it is possible to create your dream meal plan, but there's a catch. You have to be able to do math. You have to master the numbers. You have to learn how to weigh out and measure your food, at least, for a few days at the start, if you want to avoid overeating, if you want to master intuitively eating. So being able to look at food and understand how many macros, what are the macros that it contains, what are the calories it contains, so that you don't have to weigh out and track your calories and go through that meticulous, tedious process. But in order for you to reach that stage, you do have to, at the start, learn how to track your food, okay? So that in the future, after a week or so, you no longer need to weigh it out. You no longer need to put it into your MyFitnessPal and go through that extra bit of effort, okay? You'll be able to look at a piece of food and know exactly what the calories are and exactly what the macros are, okay? And that is where I want to get you by the end of this video, okay? So for example, my full day of eating would look something like this, and I wouldn't even have to think about measuring or weighing out the food. I wake up, mix a scoop of protein with some milk or some water, depending on what I feel like pretty much. I eat a banana, and that holds me till, mid-morning, where I eat a cup of low-fat Greek yogurt and 10 halves of walnuts, okay? And then that holds me till lunch, and at lunch I eat 5 ounces of chicken and fish, plus some salad, which will have, tomato, carrots, 3 tablespoons of my favorite dressing. And then a couple hours later, I'll snack on some low-fat cottage cheese, topped with a half cup of blueberries on a buttered English muffin. Then for dinner, I cook up another 5 ounces of chicken or fish or maybe grass-fed beef, a cup of coconut rice, and some veggies, maybe, oven-baked broccoli. And then I end the day with my treat, my 3-ounce dark chocolate. There we go. Sustainable, effortless. I know exactly I know exactly what the macros are in 5 ounces of chicken, what the calories are in 3 ounces of dark chocolate. So I go through the day. I just habitually, second nature, go through this full day of eating without even thinking. And that's a stage that I want to get you guys by the end of this video. Okay, that's the recipe for success: sustainability and effortlessness. But I only got to that stage, of second nature after I followed the 4 steps, which I already alluded to earlier in this video. I calculated my calorie target, I calculated my macro target, I chose my foods, and I created my meal plan. So first question we need to answer is, how many calories should I eat in a day? Trust me, I get it, okay? I don't want to be a slave to MyFitnessPal. I'll eat intuitively, okay? My doctor just said to eat organic, gluten-free, low-carb, non-GMO foods, and I'll be fine. I won't gain weight. I'll build muscle. It's fine. I'll be healthy. It's simply delusional to think that you can sculpt your body however you want without considering caloric intake, okay? Again, if you don't have to track calories forever. You don't even have to track calories at the start to inevitably get in shape. But if you want to guarantee your dream physique, if you want to be in control, then you have to calculate calories at least for a brief period at the start, okay? You'll never be in control if you don't calculate or control calories and macros, okay? So yes, hypothetically, by some chance, you may get in shape, you may build muscle, you may lose fat, but if you want to see consistent progress for 4, 5, 6 years, then you need to learn how to calculate and track your calories and your macros, okay? So first things first, in order to know what your calories and macros are going to be, you first need to decide what your physique, what do you want to do with your physique, okay? Do you want to cut? Do you want to shed body fat? In which case, you'd have to consistently eat fewer calories than you burn in order to get leaner. Do you want to lean bulk? In which case, you'd maximize muscle growth and minimize fat gain and maximize strength gains by consistently eating slightly more calories than you burn. Or do you want to main gain? You're happy with your body fat, you're happy with your muscle mass, your size, your symmetry, and you slowly, very slowly, if you're an advanced lifter, 3, 4 plus years of training, add muscle and get stronger without gaining any fat, okay? Bear in mind, this is a very slow process, and this should only be, in my opinion, something which you adhere to in terms of eating at maintenance calories, so the same number of calories which you burn in a day, if you are happy with your physique. If you are look in the mirror and you say, okay, I don't really care about putting on any more muscle, I'm happy with maintaining this level of body fat and this muscle mass forever, okay? That should only be the situation in which you main gain, okay? So building an aesthetic physique is actually simple. You lean gain to add muscle to your frame with minimal amounts of body fat because you're in a small caloric surplus. You cut to shed body fat, and because you've lean bulked, this cut will only be take up a short amount of time to keep the muscle you've built. And then you do this for 5 years, I'd say, until you're ready to maintain your peak physique and you're ready to just eat more loosely, not really track, because you've worked hard for 5 years tracking and lean bulking and cutting. You're ready to eat at maintenance calories. That's how you transform your physique. It's easier this way. It's way easier to maintain a physique than it is to build one, okay? Right now, I've trained for almost pretty much 5 years. I don't even have to really worry at all forever about losing muscle. And I don't have to track calories, don't have to track macros. I don't even have to really train necessarily that hard in the gym, and I will keep my muscle just because, I know I need to eat a lot of protein. I know I need to train relatively hard. It's much harder to build muscle than it is to keep it or maintain it, right? So after your first 3-5 years of training, you'll be able to eat more loosely. You'll be able to let your calories and macros fluctuate, without looking different, without really getting fatter or getting smaller, definitely not getting smaller. You may want to start another passion like martial arts after 5 years, okay? That's my plan at least, okay? I would have been bodybuilding for 5 years by the summer 2025. And so I'm planning on starting, martial arts, maintaining my physique, not really prioritizing muscle growth or fat loss, just getting lean enough and just starting a new hobby, okay? In my opinion, this is an optimal approach to bodybuilding. Just so you don't get bored, you don't tire out. Of course, I'll still carry on bodybuilding. I'll just won't go through that lean bulking cutting phase, lean bulk cutting phase. I'll just sort of maintain my physique. This is the perspective I want to you guys to envisage so that you understand when I allude to the context in which you should main gain, right? You've lean bulked and cut for 5 years, and now you're starting a new hobby, or you don't really care about getting that much bigger, putting on like 2 pounds more of muscle. You just want to be lean and muscular and start, martial art, for example. That would be a certain situation in which it would be perfectly, in fact, advisable to main gain. Okay. But most people don't do that. Most people just try main gain from the get-go. Build muscle and lose fat at the same time is something a lot of you might have heard. And the thing is, this is not BS. This is actually true. This is actually possible. But it's only possible for a certain amount of people, for a certain group of people. And those people are newbies to the gym, people who have never been to the gym in their life, never taken part in resistance training. So yes, you can eat at maintenance calories for the first 6 to 8 months of training, and you will gain an insane amount of muscle and lose an insane amount of body fat much easier than if you were, let's say an intermediate lifter or an advanced lifter, okay? But the only way after this period of newbie gains to carry on gaining muscle, trust me, I've gone through this myself. I went for 2 years. I would eat at maintenance calories, and yes, at the start I gained muscle like crazy. But then a year went past, and I didn't gain any muscle. And then I kid you not, my first lean bulk, I upped my calories just a little bit, entered a small caloric surplus, and I gained like another 20 pounds of muscle. So that's the only way you're going to carry on losing fat and building muscle, is going through that lean bulk and cutting cycle. So the only way to lose body fat is to cut, and the only way to gain muscle is to lean bulk after that newbie gains have run out. Okay, if you carry on main gaining, you will fail to do both. Okay, body recomposition, building muscle and losing fat at the same time, only works when you're a noob, when you're a newbie, when you're hyper responsive to resistance training. You're just primed for muscle growth. So whenever someone tells me that they're stuck, I always know that they're either eating at maintenance calories and they're not a newbie in the gym, or they think they're eating at maintenance calories, but in reality, they're eating way more than they think. And then I tell them that, and then they'll think they go back to maintenance calories, but in reality, they'll go back to a deficit and end up, not being primed for muscle growth. And then just like that flip flop between lean bulk to cut, trying to get to maintenance, is how their progress like staggers and just flatlines essentially. So how many calories should I eat when cutting is another question I get asked a lot. So we now know that in order to lose body fat, you must consistently eat fewer calories than you burn. But how many fewer? 10% fewer calories than you burn, 20%, 30%. Fitness and nutrition experts like to recommend small calorie deficits, slow cutting, very small calorie deficits, so you can hold on to the muscle that you've built, so that you can carry on having good energy, good pumps in the gym, less hunger, fewer cravings. And they're not wrong. Again, they're not wrong. Not all the advice can still be right, but there is a way to make it better, okay? Or adjust that advice so that it's easier to adhere to. And in this case, for cutting, what they don't fully understand is people don't like slow. People don't like losing fat slowly. People want to get to the result as quickly as possible and suffer as little as possible. So if you eat 10% fewer calories than you burn in a day instead of 20% fewer calories than you burn in a day, you're literally doubling the time it takes to lose the amount of fat that you want to lose. You're halving the rate of fat loss, okay? And who wants that? We want fast results. We don't want to be in a calorie deficit for 3 months, right? So thankfully, if you actually know what you're doing, you can achieve rapid fat loss without losing muscle, with keeping all the muscle you've built, without suffering in the gym, without tanking your metabolism. It's possible to do so if you eat in a 20 to 25% calorie deficit, okay? You're still training hard, you're still eating a lot of protein, but if you eat 75 to 80% of calories that you burn in a day, if you remain in that deficit, you'll lose fat as fast as possible whilst keeping all the muscle you've built. Any more than that, you are at risk of muscle loss. Any less than that, it is going to take longer. You might get demotivated and you might just quit, okay? So this is the sweet spot that I've found. Hold on, let me make myself a bit smaller. So when cutting, you want to make sure to eat between 8 to 12 calories per pound body weight each day, okay? That will create that 20 to 25% deficit that we're looking for. For example, I weigh 210 pounds. If I were to go on a deficit, I would either eat between 1,700 calories, 210 times 8, the smaller number of that range, or 2,500 calories, 210 times 12, which is the end of that range. If you go to the gym 0 times a week, you don't exercise, you're unhealthy, fat, you're lazy, whatever, you don't do cardio, then yes, you'd have to choose 8. You'd have to times your body weight by 8, the lower end of that spectrum. If you go to the gym 1 to 3 times a week and you don't do cardio, then you should maybe choose 9 to 10, okay, calories per pound body weight per day. If you go to the gym 3 to 5 times a week and you do an hour or 2 cardio a week, then choose 12. Choose the larger end of that spectrum. But if you go to the gym 5 to 9 times a week, you're a professional athlete, you do cardio every day or whatever you athletes do, then your number is going to be 14 to 16, okay? But regardless, it's that simple. You just don't burn most of your calories working out. Your brain burns 20% of your basal metabolic rate. Your organs burn 60% of your account for 60% of your basal metabolic rate. If your BMR is 2,100 calories, 1,700 of those calories are NEATs, non-exercise energy expenditure. So you only need to know when calculating your calories what your gender is, what your weight is, and the intensity of exercise per week. That's all you need to know. And then you just use the 8 to 12 trick that is outlined on this slide. So the next question obviously is, how many calories should I eat when lean bulking? The easiest way to maximize muscle growth, as we know, is to consistently eat more calories than you burn. But not by too much, otherwise you'll get fat, remember? Research suggests that you should eat in a 110 calorie surplus, i.e. 10% more calories than you burn every day. Okay, this way you'll gain as much muscle as possible with as little fat as possible. Yes, your abs will slowly start becoming less defined on your lean bulk, but that's actually a good sign. That means you're progressing. That means you're doing the right thing. You're gaining muscle. If your body weight and your body fat is going up, your strength is going up, then you are succeeding. That's the whole point. That's why it's a lean bulk. You have to get a little bit fatter. You have to get stronger. You have to get heavier in order to gain muscle. Okay, so you can have your cake and eat it. But if you eat 20% or 30% more calories than you burn in a day, you will just get fat. You will just extra weight gain is going to be fat, not muscle. No matter how much you cope or tell yourself that you're getting heavier, I must be getting gaining more muscle. It's not. It's just fat. So my advice is eat 16 to 18 calories per pound body weight per day. The same logic applies if you don't exercise. You shouldn't even be lean bulking in the first place, because any calorie surplus, you're just going to get fat if you don't go to the gym. If you go to the gym 1 to 3 times per week and you do cardio, then start with lower end of that spectrum, times your body weight by 16. 3 to 5 times per week, times it by 17. Or if you're not gaining weight, timesing it by 17, then move it up to 18. And if you're a professional athlete, you're 5 to 9 times a week in the gym, you do cardio, then just use a calorie counter online. That's probably going to give you a more accurate, representative amount of calories, and a more helpful amount of calories, because I just don't have the data on that. So you're better off using a calorie calculator. The next question is, how do I main gain? Now, I'll address this very briefly, because if you're main gaining, you should eat around 12 to 16 calories per pound body weight per day. If you live, again, sedentary lifestyle, you don't get off the couch, then choose the number 12 and start going to the gym, obviously. If you go to the gym 1 to 3 times per week, then 13 to 14 should work. 3 to 5 times per week, 15 to 16, 5 to 9 times per week, then just use an online calorie calculator. Okay, so that's it for calories. I hope that's been helpful. It's an easy way to calculate how many calories you should be eating. So now it's time to talk about protein, carbs, and fat. Time to talk about macros. So how much protein should I eat? The golden question. This is an overly disputed, debated topic. Is it 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight? Is it 0.5 grams per pound of body weight? Is it 0.8 grams per pound body weight? The Journal of International Society of Sports Nutrition explained that 0.6 to 1 gram of protein, or 25 to 40% of daily total calories from protein, is optimal for building muscle, as long as you're lean bulking. If you're cutting, the authors advise 1 to 1.5 grams of protein per pound body weight per day. I tell people, and I follow this advice myself, I've never strayed away from this advice, 1 to 1.2 grams of protein per pound body weight for cutting or bulking. It doesn't really matter, to be honest. Maybe when you're cutting, you want to do 1.2. When you're lean bulking, you want to do 1. That's what I do. I found that this is a manageable amount of protein. You don't want to be eating so much protein. You don't also be eating too little protein and risk that, So you want to maximize muscle growth. And I found that this range is pretty much going to maximize all the muscle growth that you're looking for. And it's sustainable. People can actually stick to 1 gram, 1.2, whereas 1.5 is kind of extreme, especially if you're like 200 pounds. That's going to be 300 grams of protein a day. That's kind of insane, right? So I personally have never gone below or above that. If you're obese, then you don't even need that much. You just need 0.8 grams of protein, because you have so much excess energy. You have so much fat to lose that you probably would be better off eating less protein, just because you'd be better off eating less calories. Just in sum, make sure that 30 to 40% of your daily total calories comes from protein. At the end of the day, that's all that matters. That's how you're going to maximize results. So don't be too meticulous about it. So the next question you might be asking is, what foods should I eat? So here are some examples of foods that you can go out and get at the supermarket. Chicken breast, 55 grams of protein. 3-ounce steak, 24 grams of protein. 3-ounce salmon fillet, 20 grams of protein. Low-fat Greek yogurt, 50 grams of protein. Parmesan cheese, eggs, pinto beans, peas, rice, whey protein, protein bars are all good high-calorie food options, good high-calorie snack options, and are going to allow you to, if you eat these throughout the day, maximize muscle growth, okay? Straightforward. Have a couple servings of meat, fish, or chicken a day, some dairy, some whole grains, 2 scoops of protein powder maybe, and you're pretty much sorted. And if you're not into red meat or fish or dairy, then I'd advise you to start eating that if you haven't already. But if you're vegan, you're a strict vegetarian or whatever, then just eat beans, chickpeas, lentils, and protein powder is going to be your best friend as well. It's really that simple. So how much carbs should I eat is another question you might be asking. You have to hit your protein goals first and foremost to achieve your physique goals. With carbs, not so much. It's, protein and calories matter the most. Then comes carbs and fat. If you want to eat low carb, that's fine. Some people prefer it. It helps them feel lighter, more energetic. But for most people, and the vast majority of people who go to the gym, eating more carbs, not less, is optimal. I advise people to get 30 to 50% of their daily total calories from carbs when cutting, when lean bulking, when main gaining. It doesn't matter. In other words, 0.75 to 2 grams of carbs per pound body weight per day is optimal. To put this into perspective, let's say you're a 200-pound man, you're starting his cut, okay? Your daily total calorie target is 2,100 calories. 2,100 times 0.4, which is within that 30 to 50% range. If you times 40% of 2,100 is 840. Since each gram of carbs is 4 calories, 840 calories divided by 4 is 210 grams of carbs per day. If you want to lower your carbs, then do 15 to 20% of your daily total calories from carbs to make room for at least some fruit and vegetables, which you need. Or you can even go high carb diet, 50 to 60% of daily calories. So for example, 2,100 times 0.6 or 60% is of 2,100 is 1,260 calories. 1,260 calories divided by 4 is 315 grams of carbs. As long as the majority of those carbs are nutritious and that your protein intake is still high and that your fat intake isn't too low, then it doesn't really matter if you go low carb. You just need to either up your protein or up your fat accordingly to make sure that you don't eat too few calories, which then can be a problem. Remember, as long as you don't sacrifice your calories or your protein, then how many carbs you eat, how much fat you eat is not that important. As long as you're getting in a low amount of carbs or low moderate amount of fats, it's perfectly fine. I would say personally, if you're going to go low carb, just increase your protein. If you want to go it gives you less hunger, you're more satiated throughout the day, you're maximizing muscle growth, it's easier to lose fat, it's harder to gain fat the more protein you eat because it's more satiating, and it maximizes muscle growth, which increases metabolism slightly, whatever. But if you don't want to, just make sure that your saturated fat doesn't get out of control. So if you prefer to increase your fat rather than protein, just make sure that your saturated fat is not excessive, because then that can obviously put you in, especially if you're older, maybe or 50 years plus, that can put you in closer to some health hazards that you don't need to be, right? So regardless, carbs, like protein, contain 4 calories per gram, but fat has 9 calories per gram. So that's a bit different. Okay. So what you need to do is, if you want to, adjust your carbs, if you want to find out how much fat you need to eat in a day, you have to calculate your total daily carbs, then calculate your total daily protein intake, then add them together and subtract them from the total daily calories that you eat, and then assign the remaining calories to fat however you want. So say again, you're 200 pounds, you eat 2,100 calories, 200 grams of protein, and 20% of your calories come from carbs. To calculate your carbs, you're going to want to do 2,000 times 0.2 or 20%, which is 420, divided by 4 is 105 grams of carbs. 200 grams of protein in calories is 200 times 4 because there's 4 calories per gram of protein, which is 800. Now you add them both together, you get 1,220 calories. 2,100, which is your total calories, minus 1,220 is 880. And that's how many calories you have left for fat. To find out how many grams of fat, you divide by 9, which is around 100 grams of fat. And then your macros, hypothetically, in this case, this is just an example, obviously, would be 200 grams of protein, 105 grams of carbs, 100 grams of fat, 2,100 calorie cutting diet for a 200-pound man, but it is a low-carb diet. If you want to go low-carb and you're 200 pounds and you're a guy, boom, there you go. So, how much fat should I eat? Now, obviously, I just showed you how you can calculate how much fat you should eat. Studies show that 20 to 30% of your total daily calories from fat, or 0.2 to 0.4 grams of fat per pound body weight, is optimal. If you're doing low carb, like that example I just gave you, then you can eat up to 50 to 60% of your daily calories can come from fat. There are two ways of finding your fat target, okay? You figure out your protein and carb target first, and then you see how many calories left you have for fat, or you figure out your protein and fat targets first, and you see how many calories you have left for carbs. Depending on what you care about more, whether it's fat or carbs, you choose either one or two. If you want to make sure your carb intake is, dialed in, you're prioritizing your carbs, then choose the first option, and vice versa if you want to prioritize getting in your optimal amount of fat. Either way, you're turning both macros you've calculated into calories. You're subtracting the sum of the two macros from your daily total calories, and then you're changing the remaining calories into grams of either carbs or fat. So obviously that sounds a bit complicated. Let me just give you an example. You weigh 170 pounds, okay? And you're starting a lean bulk. 170 times 17, remember the 16 to 18 range I gave you for lean bulking per pound per body weight, depending on how much exercise you do per day, right? Remember that? 117 times 17 is 2,900 calories. 117 grams, which means you want to do 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Okay, 170 grams of protein right there. Times 4 is 680 calories. That's how many calories you're eating of protein per day. Now, you want to find how much carbs you want to eat. You're going to eat per day. So you've chosen 50% of your daily total calories. You want that to come from carbs, so you're opting in for a slightly higher carb diet, which is perfectly fine. That's going to end up being 1,450 calories a day from carbs, because 2,900 times 0.5 is 1,450. Then you're going to find out how many grams of carbs that amount of calories is by dividing it by 4, which is around 360 grams of carbs. Then you're going to add them both together, your protein and your carbs calories, and you're going to get 2,130. Then you're going to subtract 2,130, which is the calories that come from carbs and protein, from your total amount of calories, which is going to end up being 770 calories per day for fat, and obviously 9 calories per gram of fat. So 770 divided by 9 is 85 grams of fat. Okay, that's how you should figure out how much fat you want to eat. So here's an example of different people who exercise different amounts per week and have different goals. Okay, so I'll go through the first couple of examples. If you're 170 pounds and you're cutting and you do 3 hours of gym a week, your calories would be 1,700, protein would be 170, carbs would be 130, fat would be 55. Okay, and if you're 190 pounds and you're cutting and you go to the gym 6 times a week, or maybe you go to the gym 4 times a week and you run, for 2 hours a week, right? Your calories when cutting would be 2,300, protein would be 190, carbs would be 230, fat would be 70. Okay, these are all examples. You can pause the video if you want and go through all these examples. And if one of them applies to you, then go ahead and use that, because this has been scientifically proven to be effective at cutting body fat and gaining muscle. So however many times a week you go to the gym and do cardio, you look at the activity level. Okay, say you're watching this right now. Oh, I'm 170 pounds and I want to lean gain and I go to the gym 3 times a week. Okay, boom. I'll do 2,700 calories, 170 grams of protein, 340 grams of carbs, and 75 grams of fat, because I also want to eat a lot of carbs and I'm not that big on eating a lot of fat. Boom. Okay. So it's up to you, but go through this list and feel free to choose it. Next, what kind of foods should I eat? Okay, there are no secrets. Only proper nutrition, training, sleep, rest, and recovery will build you your dream physique. Okay, but having said that, you do need to eat several portions of fruit and vegetables every day to get adequate nutrition, vitamins, minerals, fiber. Um, just like you lose body fat without what did I write there? Oh, just like you won't lose body fat without being in a calorie deficit, you won't gain muscle without eating a high protein diet. Just like you won't gain muscle without eating a high protein diet, you won't be healthy without eating a bunch of fruit and vegetables. It's that simple. Okay. So stock up your fridge on brown rice, corn, oats, quinoa, olive oil, avocado, broccoli, potatoes, meat, fish, eggs, dairy, whey protein, all those things that I've listed there. Plant foods, if you're vegan, vegetarian, just a heads up, it will make your life much harder. It will make it harder to gain muscle, to have a healthy metabolism, to lose fat, just because plant foods, come with a lack of bioavailability of essential amino acids. So, by extension, that's going to make it harder to gain muscle because those two factors are very important for gaining muscle. But it's still possible, a lot of vegans, when they have supplement with protein powder, they can look incredible. And I know a lot of them. So it's definitely possible. It's just going to be harder. But if you're willing to go through the extra bit of effort, then fine. My advice would also be no liquid calories. They don't cure your hunger. They're just a waste of calories. Although I'm a huge proponent of orange juice. I think orange juice is great, definitely as a pre-workout, drink. But I'm so against those 500 calorie fruit juices that people make at home or that they buy. Those I'm really not against, because the bang for your buck, yes, they may be perfectly fine and healthy, but there's so much sugar, so many calories, and they're just not going to satiate you at all. So a better option for fat loss and muscle gain is 500 calories of beef and broccoli. That will keep you full for hours, right? So I couldn't think of a better rebuttal to fruit juice than beef and broccoli. So if you are going to have those fruit juices or those detox juices that you've been, sold on, then I'm not going to sit here and argue with you. Just make sure that you track those calories and macros. You treat them as treats. Your 20% of your calories treats. You don't treat them as normal bodybuilding food. Pretend they're a cheat meal. You treat them as a cheat meal if you're going to have one. So you might be asking, well, then what should I eat? If not juice, if not coffee, if not whatever. Water, okay? Everyone's dehydrated nowadays. Just because you may not feel thirsty, if you do feel thirsty, that means you are dehydrated. Speaking of which, so dehydration, is going to make you dumber, sadder, weaker, constipated, and unhealthy. So bad, bad, bad. The general advice is 8 glasses of 8-ounce glasses of water a day, or 1 ounce of water per pound body weight per day. My advice, just down a liter. This is what I do every morning. A bottle of Aqua Panna as soon as I wake up, get it out the way. That's just, a great way to start your day. And caffeine is okay. Some people think it's a diuretic. Technically it is, but it's only a diuretic. It's only a dehydrator. If you don't drink water, if you just drink coffee without enough water, then yes, it's going to dehydrate you. But if you're meeting your water demands, then you can drink, obviously not as much coffee as you want, but you can drink coffee without worrying that it's going to dehydrate you, because it won't. Okay, what about treats? People, what you've been waiting for, right? Remember, no individual food can damage your health. Only your overall general diets can damage your health. One meal won't do anything to your health, but consistently eating a bad diet will damage your health. For example, I eat pretty much, not every day, but I will schedule in almost every day either dark chocolate, halo top ice cream, pancakes, pastries, pasta, and I'm healthy and I have muscle and I have a low body fat percentage, or not right now, but I can get lower body fat percentage even eating these foods. And these foods actually make up 20% of my daily calories when I'm cutting, lean bulking, main gaining. Yes, I'm serious. Okay. Say I'm cutting on 2,100 calories. Okay. In this case, I have 20% of 2,100 is 420 calories to spare on eating whatever I want. So what would I choose? I'll just eat every day a pint of low calorie ice cream, Halo Top, for example, which is 420 calories. Boom. I'll still lose the fat I want. I'll still keep my muscle that I want as long as I fill the rest of my calories with high protein, high nutritious food, or a bar of chocolate, or 5 Reese's cups, or a bag of low calorie crisps, or a handful of Oreos. Those are all 420 calories. Those are all perfectly fine to eat if you are keep it to 20% of your daily total calories. And you keep 80%, again, high protein, nutritious foods. And yeah, I would eat one of these every day when cutting, still get shredded, still feel great. And here's the most important part of this all. This is how you stay sustainable on a diet. This is how I can stay on this flexible diet forever, because my cravings or my sweet tooth is, taken care of, but I'm not going too out of control, but I'm satisfied. Okay. That's where you want to get to. So, should I bulk, should I cut, or should I main gain is the next question I'm going to address. If you feel your body fat percentage is too high, then you need to cut right away. Trust me. Do not think that it's a good idea to bulk just because your body fat isn't too bad, because then it's going to be so much harder to cut in the future. There's no reason to lean bulk if your primary concern is losing fat. If you look in the mirror and you say, God, I just want to get less fat, don't really care about gaining muscle right now, then that should be what you do, okay? Because at the end of the day, if you are doing what you don't want to do, then you're not going to be happy doing it. But if you are happy doing what you want to do, it probably means that you're doing what you need to do. All right, let me just stop talking. If you're obese, obviously cut. Even if you want to gain a lot of muscle, you probably will because you have so much excess energy. But obviously, the primary concern is you losing that fat. Otherwise, you might die. And don't worry, just because you're prioritizing cutting does not mean that you won't ever gain muscle, or I'm delaying my muscle growth period. That's fine. You'll be much happier that you got rid of that body fat than if you didn't get rid of that body fat and prioritize muscle growth, but you just stayed fat, right? So the most important thing is to lose fat if you feel like you need to. If you look in the mirror and you say, okay, I'm fat, I need to lose it. If you're skinny on the other hand, and you're lean and you're weak, then yes, you need to lean bulk. You'll basically gain zero fat anyways, especially if you're a beginner. But if your body fat is normal, then I would say it's up to you. But if you want my advice, then if you're higher than 15% body fat, cut down to 10 or 12% body fat. Why, you may ask? Well, if you do that, you'll like how you look way more. You'll be vascular. You'll have abs. You'll feel so happy. You'll feel so motivated. You'll feel much better. Isn't that why we do this in the first place? To like how we look and therefore like how we feel. 2, the fatter you are, the harder it is to cut. The more cravings you'll have, more hungry you'll be, the longer and more difficult it is to get down to 10 to 12 body fat percentage, even if you're doing everything right. So by always staying lean, by always not straying above 15% body fat, your cuts will always be short and easy. That's my advice. Now, here is a picture of body fat percentages, just to put it into perspective for you guys. If you're wondering what body fat percentage am I, here's a photo. Maybe look at this and really be honest with yourself and say, what body fat percentage am I? I'm right now, I would be the 16 to 19% photo. So technically I do need to cut, but I'm being an idiot. But you find out which one you are. But this is accurate. I've got it from a reputable, reliable source. So next question, how long should I cut, lean bulk, or main gain for? The duration of your cut depends on how much fat you want to lose and how quickly you want to lose it. The duration of your lean bulk depends on how lean you are at the start and how quickly you gain fat. My advice, stop cutting once you reach 10 to 12% body fat. Go back to that slide earlier, which shows the body fat percentage differentials to see what is 10% body fat. Anything lower is not sustainable, okay? You won't be able to sustain 8-9% body fat. You'll be miserable, but you will be able to sustain 10 to 12% body fat. While also, because when you get lower to 8-9% body fat, you won't be able to have those treats that you like. You won't be able to be satiated. You'll be hungry. You'll crave food. Whereas 10 to 12% body fat is sustainable. You will be able to have your Oreos, your you'll feel great, you'll feel energetic, you'll be strong. All those things, as soon as you get below 10% body fat, will go away. You'll have worse workouts, lower energy. You'll get into hormonal trouble, libido trouble, all those kind of things. So typically, your cut should last around 8 to 12 weeks, depending on how much fat you need to lose, right? Maybe you want to split your cut up into chunks. So you're a 200-pound man cutting on 2,200 calories a day. After 7 weeks of cutting, you notice that you have no motivation, your energy is lower, you're hungrier, you're craving all the time. Now it's time for a refeed. So for 1 week straight, go back to maintenance calories. So that would be 200 times 14. Remember the ranges I gave you before? That would be 2,800 calories. Now you have 600 calories to play with, which is 150 grams of carbs. You may want to add oats and fruits, a couple slices of bread, and a cup of rice at dinner. Okay. You eat these additional meals for a week straight, and then you go back to cutting at 2,200 calories. This way, because your body needs a refeed, it's telling you it needs a refeed. After you've given it a refeed, you will lose that fat much more effectively whilst also being happy. Okay. Your lean bulk, on the other hand, should end at 15 to 17% body fat. Again, go back to that picture showing all the different body fat percentages, and should take around 12 to 16 weeks to gain sufficient amount of muscle and strength before you decide to cut. Anything less than that, you still have a little bit more muscle to gain. Anything more than that, I guess you could, but it's going to be, I guess you'd want to cut by then, right? You'd want to see the progress you've made. That's the only way I'd justify ending your lean bulk. And then your cut will be easy, because if you stop at 15 or 17% body fat, you'll still have visible abs. So like your cut will be short, easy, and you'll have built a lot of muscle. And you should only main gain when you're happy. Again, I talked about this with your muscle fat on your frame. You're happy with your overall physique, because it won't really change eating at maintenance, especially if you're an advanced lifter. So to wrap things up, you want to get leaner, consistently eat fewer calories than you burn, aka go on a cut. You want to get bigger and stronger, consistently eat more calories than you burn, aka go on a lean bulk. If you're happy with your physique and you want to very slowly add muscle and add zero fat, then main gain. For cutting, I recommend a 20 to 25% calorie deficit, aka 8 to 12 calories per pound body weight per day. For lean bulking, I recommend a calorie surplus of 10%, aka 16 to 18 calories per pound body weight per day. If you want to main gain, I recommend eating 12 to 16 calories per pound body weight per day. If you want to maximize muscle growth, minimize fat gain, then I recommend eating 1 to 1.2 grams of protein per pound body weight per day. I recommend getting 30 to 50% of daily calories from carbs when cutting, and lean bulking, doesn't matter, aka 0.75 to 2 grams of carbs per pound body weight per day. I recommend getting 20 to 30% of daily total calories from fat when you're lean bulking, when you're cutting, again, doesn't matter, per day, or 0.2 to 0.4 grams of fat per pound body weight per day. You need to eat several portions of fruit and vegetables a day, at least 3, I'd say, for adequate nutrition requirements. Best protein is going to be, at the end of the day, animals, meat, fish, eggs, dairy, whey protein. 20% of your calories from treats, if you really want to. Obviously, this isn't necessary, but this is what I do to have a sustainable diet, still achieve my goals, and to be happy with my diet. If your body fat percentage is above 17%, you should cut. If it's below 10%, you should lean bulk. Your cut should end at 10 to 12 body fat, 10 to 12% body fat. Your bulk should end at 15 to 17% body fat. Okay, so hopefully you've enjoyed this video and you've learned something, and it's helped you understand how to go about tracking my calories and macros to achieve my goal. I promise you, if you stick to this advice, I hope I've made it simple enough for you. If you have any questions, ask me in the comments. But this will definitely produce effective results for you and help you achieve your physique goals. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.